So this one's going to be a little bit of an interesting video. In the last 24 hours, sleeper cells have come up quite a bit in podcasts and in conversations that I've had. And I know a lot of people are talking about it. And a lot of people should be educated on what sleeper cells are and patsies. And so I think that we just need to do a quick little recap on that, because I don't think people understand what we're in the makings of. And so that said, a sleeper cell is a term used for counter and intelligent. It refers to a small group or individual secretly embedded in a community or country who remains inactive, asleep, until activated to carry out a coordinated mission. We have sleeper cells all over the country, all over the globe, and there's quite a few in the US. Long-term secrecy, no obvious suspicious activity. You never know. I'm pretty sure I had some sleeper cells in my life. External coordination, organized command structure, evidence of communication, and funding links. Yeah, they're all funded by who? One would ask. People who suddenly change behavior. Yeah, overnight. Former acquaintances who reappear. That happens so much. Golly, that's so obvious. Yay. Institutions acting in coordinated ways. Good gracious. Social clusters that feel aligned. Yeah. Keep hitting the keywords. Keep hitting the talking points. Keep hitting the code words. Let's see how that works for you guys. You're doing such a bomb job. Patsy. This is my favorite, because I know that people thought that I would be a patsy for them. And I beg to differ. That didn't work out for you. So back to the drawing board we must go. A patsy is a person who is set up to take the blame for something they did not fully orchestrate. I would say Tyler, good old Tyler for Charlie Kirk would be a patsy. And the reference to me and the reference to a patsy, it's like, I have no idea what kind of orchestration that has been surrounded by me, but I know that there's been a lot of players. A lot of players, for sure. It's just so evident. Someone manipulated, someone intentionally framed, someone used as a scapegoat. Dun, 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 dun. The world became widely known after Lee Harvey Oswald called himself a patsy after the assassination of JFK. But historically, proving someone was a patsy requires hard evidence of orchestration, documented coordination, and demonstrated deception, legal findings, and investigative proof. And here's the uniqueness of my story is, in reference to the hard evidence of orchestration, I think everybody's pretty much become well versed and well aware of the hard evidence and orchestration that's transpiring. It's pretty evident at this point. You would have to be blind not to see it. You just would. I guess you could be asleep. How patsies get used socially. Socially dynamics, patsies is often used to describe someone blamed for a group mistakes, the lowest ranking person disciplined first, a visible person taking heat for systematic issues. Systematic issues, that's when you've become so much a experiment and a target in different ways. You start picking up on systematic issues, systematic abuse that follows you. And that's kind of what's all unraveled in my court case. And there's a plethora of things in reference to systematic abuse that followed me in the government entanglement there. Important psychological note: repeated invalidation, documentation, instability, authority pressure, public correction, and reprimands. Oh, my little community. When it takes an entire force of community involvement, government funding involvement, family involvement in different ways, relationship, previous marriage involvement, just the whole kits and caboodle. When it takes that much behind the scenes to go after someone, you got to ask yourself why. Make it make sense. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. Now, I know there's incentive structures for those all entangled in it. That's clear as day. But again, why? I mean, little old me. I mean, I live my little life. I've always lived my little life just trying to do what's right. I've had my good seasons. I've had my bad seasons. But to have this whole orchestration of a Truman Show is just, it's mind-boggling to me. Because there's just so many different areas in this world and in our nation, and in our states and in our communities and in my community that require and deserve attention, that need attention. And instead, they're so often enough putting their attention on other things. And why? Well, blackmail, coercion, cover-ups, greed, money, power. It always stems from that. And so I think what we're seeing right now on the grand scale, in reference to me, Charlie Kirk, everything, the war, everything, is it's just a matter of power, control, blackmail ops, coercion, and greed in reference to wanting to stay in a position of power, to controlling the masses, controlling the money, and controlling the reality of truth coming out. But what they're not understanding, because God uses everything that's happening in the dark, that's happening in deception, that's happening in cover-ups, that's happening in lies, that's happening in strategic planning for the detriment. While in the strategic planning, it's at the detriment of human lives, mankind, humanity. God's seeing all these orchestrations transpiring, right? So while they're moving the pieces, God's seeing this, okay? And so he's also using this as well. How? Because the reality and the truth is coming out, because it's become so blatantly in our face and as to why and what and where this is all happening and has been happening for decades and decades. It's now become where there's a mass awakening on the full scale to recognize that we have lived in a world where the elites and those in power and things of that have not been moving and operating in truth and in justice and actually operating for the betterment of the American people in generations to come, like my child and my grandchildren and things like that. And so it's one of those things, if you find yourself on the fence where you're using different antics and different planning and strategic planning, however you might use it in your day-to-day operations, just know that while you're making these decisions, while you're making these choices, God is watching too. Like, he just is. You can't run from that. And you can't misuse him, because he's going to show you why you can't misuse him. Whether it's tonight, tomorrow, a year down the road, 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, whatever. When you're going on to your next life and you have that conversation with him, and he recounts all the strategic planning you were a part of. And so it's one of those things, you just have to be careful. And going to church on a Sunday is not going to solidify you from taking account and accountability in the actions you made for that 7 days prior to Sunday going into church. It's just one of those things. It truly is. That's why the church is within you. It's within your heart. It's within your mind. It's within your choices, your decisions, and what you stand on, and how you treat people. How you treat people. No matter where your positioning is at in this world, no matter what power you have, the amount of money you have, you still have the ability to be kind and treat people fairly and with honor and dignity. Period. No matter what the masses say. No matter what the masses say, you have to figure out what's right and wrong. You have to figure out what's good and evil. You just do, because it's going to, at the end of the day, it's going to affect you. It's going to affect you because at the end